Hi, I'm attorney Keith Johnson, and welcome back into the Lawyer's Lounge. Today we're going to talk about storytelling and what does it mean to tell a story that lasts. Not just one that goes viral, not just one that gets likes or one that controls the algorithm, but a story that tells depth, a story that gives voice to people who don't have a voice. We've lost the art of storytelling in our society, but I'm joined today by a brother who takes that seriously, who has a vision and is a visionary. Travoris Hawkins, the founder of Scholar Films. Originally from Augusta, Georgia, but has traveled all over this great nation and world. He's someone who has a vision for the future and tries to capture the voices of our present. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a little bit of storytelling here in the Lawyer's Lounge. All right, Travoris, my man.
What's up,
brother? A lot of people know you from around here. You've worked with local business owners, famous international music producers, artists. Give us a little bit of the background about who you are as a person and what led you to becoming a powerhouse in the film industry.
Well, it's simple. I'm like you say, I'm straight from Augusta, Georgia. Went to school here, all my schools. So I went to elementary, middle, high, and college right here in Augusta. And I kind of got into film from a friend of mine, Hodges Ushery, who his family owned Fat Man's.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So he was filming when we was in high school. And I saw it and I was like, bro, that's like dope. And it was something that I thought I could do, but never really took it serious until college. I was a business marketing major, and my best friend, he was into music. I love music too, but I couldn't rap, sing, or dance.
Yeah.
So
you had to be in it.
I had to find something, So I talked to my family. I was like, yo, this is something I really want to do, and they backed me, and it's a story that I always tell. I tell it the same way because it's the truth, and only thing I can say is it was just God's timing.
Yeah. So what was the first time that you realized that, man, I'm pretty good at this? Was it you getting a camera when you were younger? Was it a cell phone?
Yeah, no, well, actually the cell phones wasn't that prevalent then. Like it was, I think we may have been just getting into I don't even think we was in iPhone stages yet.
Okay.
So I had this thing called a Flip HD. Kind of looked like a remote control.
Okay.
And it was just a one button stop start. And I started doing stuff in the clubs.
Okay.
And Ty Shine, Darren Shine, they pulled me in and was like, yo, like, can you come and film some? Well, nope. I went to them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just really on the back end, I wanted to get drops from the artists that were coming in. Yeah. And I kind of saw the foresight in that, like just getting these artists to say my company's name.
Okay. Let's talk about the company name.
Yeah.
Because it's a fascinating name. I love it, by the
Thank
way.
you.
It caught my attention. Tell us how Scholar Films began and really what's the idea behind that name in particular. Because you don't really think about maybe scholar when you're talking about film industry, especially you starting out on the music scene. So what was the peak behind that?
So that's a funny story in itself because we started out as Cash Cartel.
Okay. Cash Cartel.
Cash Cartel. So we threw a party. This was me and my business partner. This is John Bussett and Alex Doggett.
What year are we talking about here?
This is 2007, 2008.
Okay.
We threw a party and it bombed bad. Well, I'm not gonna say it bombed. Everybody had fun. Okay. But we didn't up the prices on the door. And then we had our homeboy at the bar, like he pouring shots in people's mouths. Like we lost bad.
Yeah.
So it was such a bad loss to the point we was like, we got to change our name. Yeah. So all of us were big Jay-Z fans.
Okay.
And so Jay-Z would have these shirts that would say like Tom Ford 76. It would have all of these people names, but it'll have the year that they were born. These designers, these these artists, you know, so we thought about the name Scholar because we were like, okay, all of us are from downtown Augusta except for Alex. Alex is from South Augusta.
Okay.
We are from areas that we don't see the best things.
Okay.
But we're actually on college campuses at this time. You know, we're pursuing our dreams as far as like getting our degree and everything.
Where were you in college at?
At this time, I was at Augusta State.
Okay.
So we were there, and it's like we kind of know both sides of the world.
Yeah.
You know, I could go and talk to the professor of humanities.
Yeah.
But I could go talk to the biggest dope boy in Augusta.
Exactly.
So I was like, well, all of us were like, we actually are scholars when you think of the term. You know, it's like, it's not that we are scholars of one thing. We were like chameleons.
Life experiences.
Yeah. So when we would go on college campuses and talk to different people, we stood out. Yeah. Because at that time, we didn't belong there. You know, and I say that loosely because at the time the school wasn't as diverse as it is now. Okay. You know, and the campus life wasn't really there. So we just stood out like sore thumbs. And I was like, yo, like we actually are scholars. So that name came from that, you know, we had to change the name because of the bomb, but thinking of the future, you know, and we was like, that's something that I could see on a shirt of a 10-year-old, and I could see that on the shirt of a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
It was so diverse.
Okay. That's a great name. So tell me this, how did your business evolve from being a college kid, capturing parties and being on that music scene, working with people like Usher, Jeezy, Trina, Rick Ross. I mean, these are big names in the music industry. Tell me how it evolved from being here in downtown Augusta to reaching out and being in the mix with those big names.
Well, that more so came from networking. I've been doing this now 17 years, you know, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's like...
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 37.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, and that's another thing, like, I kind of have youth on my side, you know, even though I'm of age, but I like to invest into the youth so it keeps me young at the same time.
You young at heart, man.
Yeah.
It keeps me cool and everything like that. Yeah.
So, like, how the whole thing started was, like I say, it started at the clubs, but I started understanding that the business that the club is getting is partly because of the visuals that I'm doing. So I built the mindset of saying, okay, even if it's 10 people in the club today, I'm going to shoot it as if it's 100.
Okay.
What that will do on the marketing side, when we put this visual out on a Monday, people who see it won't want to miss it next week.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's that vision.
It was the vision and then the marketing that I got from school.
Okay.
I just put it together.
So it seems like what you were doing was you were taking the knowledge that you had already gained from the world and you growing up and maybe seeing difficult situations.
Yes.
You were always like academically inclined, smart guy, and you had this natural talent. And it seems like you just combined everything to kind of have your own blueprint for how you're going to run your business and storytell.
Yes.
So let's talk about storytelling a little bit. When you're working with these artists or just regular people like me, do you have a vision and it comes together in the moment, or is it more of a blueprint based on your discussions with the client?
What I always do, I definitely listen because I always revert. Just if we're talking about me and you, you know, I remember our first meeting. We was with Miss Tiffany.
Yeah.
At
right.
Mellow Mushroom.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and I sat there and I listened to you talk. Like I'm always a fly on the wall when I have my camera. You know, I'm trying not to talk because I'm capturing life. So in life, I'm the same way. I'm just gonna listen to what a person says. And then once I get back to my office, I'm gonna assess everything that they said. Okay, they say they like this type of music. They want to look this way.
Yeah.
And what I do is I go down a rabbit hole and I try to find everything that would be similar to what this person would want. And I build a mood board.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I build mood boards, and that's how
What's that?
a mood board is kind of like it's videos, it's pictures, it's quotes,
Okay.
it's music, it's all this stuff that encompasses what the person has just told me.
Okay.
You know, and I build that around them, and I kind of present it. I might not show them the mood board,
Yeah.
but I give them kind of like a small portion of what I have built to make
I need
it.
to see it for me.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll show it to
Yeah,
you.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
so like, and
Yeah.
it's funny, like me getting to know you even better. Like I had Johnny Cochran on your mood board.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah.
'Cause I talked about him in the first episode.
We talked
of
about him in
being
the first episode.
One of the inspirations to being a criminal defense attorney.
Yes, and I did not know that, but anytime I think of criminal defense, that's the first thing I think about.
Because Johnny was more than just a lawyer; he was cultural. I mean, about not just, and it didn't start with that O.J. Simpson case. That was the most media attention, but Johnny was the man well before that.
Yeah,
and so definitely you want to have someone who understands not just what they do, but why they do it.
yes,
And a guy like Johnny inspired a lot of people. So you spend a lot of time on the road.
yes,
I know you're in New York quite a bit.
yes.
Talk to us about being on the road and also balancing that with having a wife and a 10-year-old daughter.
That's why I always talk to you. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, I have a great support system. My wife, like, that's the backbone. She's not the type that like the spotlight. When she pop out, she go pop out.
Yeah.
But she likes to stay in the background. And I'm not gonna say it forces me to do that, but it makes me understand that, hey, home is home.
Yeah.
You know, so when I'm on the road, I take that with me. So I'm not trying to hang out with the artists. I'm not trying to do all the party and all that stuff because I got to get home.
Yeah.
You know, I got to get home. I got to get home to my wife and kids. So
Yeah.
it keeps me balanced to know that, hey, this is a career. You're not here to have fun.
Yeah.
I have fun doing what I do. So when they offer me to say, hey, we going to the club tonight, send me home.
Is it do you think that it's important to kind of have a little bit of a healthy separation from the artist and not kind of get too close and party with them and things like that?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. And
I can imagine that.
Yeah, because and this is where the youth thing comes into play.
Okay.
Because of a lot of the people that I work with, they don't understand that I'm not too far from them in age.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm 37. But they'll look at me and think I'm in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that would intrigue a 25-year-old, I really already done it. So I'm really here for business.
Yeah.
And it kind of throws them for a loop.
Sure.
Because they like, no, I know dude. I know he should want to. But they're like, no, I got a family that I got to go to. You know, my grandma needs something from the store. Yeah. I got to go play my auntie numbers. I got to make sure my mama good.
Yeah.
You know, my pops, me and my pops chill. My stepmama. And I don't call my stepmama. That's my real mama.
Yeah,
you know,
I understand.
I got 2 mothers. I got 2 grandmothers, you know, so I got to get back home so I can take care of my base.
You do a good job of keeping the main thing.
Yes.
Right.
And that's key.
And that's important, especially when you're trying to build a brand that involves an industry where parties can be the norm, and it's almost expected to be kind of a part of that scene. So, you know, you're not just dealing with the music industry. Tell us some of the networks that you worked with and some of those brands and what the difference is between, you know, working with those companies or docuseries versus being in the music industry.
I have a TV show on NBC Sports. It's called Saturday Foursome.
Okay.
It's a partnership with one of my good friends, Edgar Evans. He's the host and the showrunner. I'm over production and I direct.
Okay.
So we came together. I actually came together with him on season 3.
All right.
He needed a boost, and we actually met at a baby shower. I was filming a baby
Wow.
shower here in Augusta, and he was like, "Hey, yo, you ever shot a TV show?"
That's crazy.
It,
Just like
exactly,
that.
just like that.
You was ready though.
I was ready.
What kind of show is it?
It's a golf show.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a golf show. So we film with different artists. Like we've had Larry June, we've had Warren Sapp, you know,
Big guy.
big guy.
Yeah.
Fred Taylor.
Yeah.
You know, we're about to have we're about to go to New York in a couple weeks. We got a big surprise on that one. So it's like we shoot with so many different people,
and they're playing around the golf,
and it's around.
And so they're mic'd up.
They're mic'd up.
And so you out there, so you're hearing it all.
Oh man, it's stuff.
That.
I wish we could put out this stuff with Warren Sapp.
Yeah.
But we trying to keep it clean. But man, we got a bite from Warren Sapp.
Yeah.
That will go nuts.
Yeah.
And he told me, he was like, he pulled me to the side. He said, "Yo, young fella." You know how you talk.
Big Warren.
Young fella. Everything I'm saying, I'm media trained. I know I got this mic on.
Okay.
Use it.
Oh.
He told me. He
gave
use
you
it. He said,
a green light.
I know I got this mic on.
Yeah.
I'm saying everything. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like me and Edgar were talking, we were like, man, I don't know. We might not need
Warren's a wild boy.
Yeah, Warren a wild boy. But man, it's been a blessing.
Okay.
So working with like a NBC or I work with Viacom, which is BET, MTV, VH1. It's strenuous work because it's a lot of things on the back end that people don't see. So you'll see, just say on the TV show, you'll see us on the golf course filming, or, you know, we have all these trips, and it's glamorous, it's nice, it's lovely. But on the back end, when we get to editing, we have to make sure that visual fits every TV in America.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, because there's certain ways that you have to upload things. And the way we upload to Viacom is different from NBC or Root Sports or Bally Sports.
Yeah.
FanDuel, all these different networks is totally different. So you have to re-edit everything based off of the platform that you're putting it on.
That seems pretty technical.
Yes.
And did you learn by trial and error, or was it like academic stuff? I mean, because it seems like in the creative space, it's not like book knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have to know how to work the equipment and capture what you need to, but it seems like more of a vibe, just an eye for it.
It's an eye, but it is very technical. It's a lot of technicalities that go into it. It's a lot of math that goes into running a camera, because it's certain things where, just say shutter speed. Your shutter speed should be double your frame rate. It's things like that. And I know I'm throwing things out to you, but it's a lot of
math. We can look it up.
Yeah, we can look it up. Matter of fact, when I'm editing this, I might put it on the screen.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of math that goes into it, and you have to compute these things at the drop of a hat, because everything is centered around light. Yeah. So your camera is actually a light meter. So the shot that you get inside, and if you're transitioning outside, it's going to change, you know, and you have to know how to compute that into your camera just like that. Wow. You know, so
you got to really be able to kind of think quickly on your feet. We've had to adjust and adapt when we've had media sessions and photography as well. I really want to talk about the project that you have with the African-American caddies at Augusta National. Some of you may not know, but up until like the 80s, a lot of or all of the caddies at the Augusta National were African-American men. Yeah. And it wasn't always for the best reasons. It was old South type of stuff. We keep it real here. Yeah. And you are a part of a documentary involving the late, great Jim Dent as well. Talk to us about the docuseries, where we could find it, and just kind of what was the inspiration, being an Augusta kid like me, knowing that the Masters has such a shadow over this city.
Yeah. Well, first I came on board with a guy that I met. Well, I don't even remember how he got my number. He called me. This was like 2021, 2020. He gave me a call. He was like, "Hey, I'm working on a project with NBC, and I want you to direct this project." I was like, "Okay, sound good to me." And when he called me, I mean, we talked for a few times, and he told me about the story. So I got fully vested into it. We ended up getting all of these caddies together, and we interviewed them.
What pulled you into the story first? What was the thing that kind of made you feel like, man, this is something that could be really cool?
The first thing that pulled me in was me being of Augusta and somebody from Florida calling me about the story.
Okay.
And once he got to kind of talking about it, the thing I could tell, and not saying that I knew more than him, I felt more than him because I'm here every day.
Absolutely.
So he was telling me how they didn't have their jobs anymore, and the quote unquote thing that happened, how they were pushed out, and he started saying like the areas that these golfers lived, well, these caddies lived in.
Yeah.
Which was one prominent area was the Hill.
Yeah.
So when I looked
which is like in Augusta, Richmond County,
yeah,
African American,
exactly,
neighborhoods.
So when I started thinking about it and looking at the areas as a whole, I was like, these areas are like some of the underfunded places in our city.
And those guys are going right over to a prestigious golf course,
yes,
worldwide,
yes,
world known, and going right back home.
Yeah. But when I thought about it, once we filmed everything and I started doing my research, it wasn't always like that.
Okay.
The thing was, when they didn't get that influx of money anymore, the communities went down.
Yeah.
Because I say it as Jerry Beard said it, Jeremiah Beard, who won with Fuzzy Zeller.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you make it to Friday, Saturday, on the course, he said that was enough to bankroll you.
Yeah, because you made the cut.
You made the cut.
Yeah.
If you make the cut, he said you're good. You're good. Your player didn't even have to win. Now, if you won,
that's really a nice bankroll.
He said it was very different. Yeah. And they would bring that back to their community. And when that community is community.
Yeah.
So Joe down the street, he won.
Mm-hmm. Everybody won.
Yeah.
And so were you able to conduct a lot of behind the scenes interviews and things like that?
Some of them have passed. Like I said, we just lost Mr. Dent, who was a big help. Every time I would see him, he would just see me. And from that first time, this is from 2020, 2021. Every time he'd see me like, what you shooting today? Every time I see you working.
So let's spend just a few minutes talking about the story about Jim Dent. I think that it definitely deserves recognition.
Yes.
He just passed away less than a month ago, a local legend. He started out as a caddy. And eventually made his way onto the PGA Tour and won on the tour several times, played in major championships.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your relationship with Mr. Dent and the legacy that you believe that he left.
Yeah, so like I said, it started on that set right there. And every time I would see him, he would just he was always just a ball of joy, and he kept it real. Like when I say he was one of the people that if he want to cuss you out, he gonna cuss you out.
Yeah.
But it's all from love, and I got to know his grandson, Andre.
Okay.
Dre is such a great dude, he's keeping that family legacy going, within golf. And Mr. Dent told his story of how they would sneak onto the golf course.
Wow.
He went from caddying to being a PGA Tour player, but he really made his name on the senior tour.
Yes.
Beating Arnold Palmer. He beat out everybody,
Yes.
you know, and going against John Daly in the long drive.
What a story.
Yeah.
What, like, if you just think about it, you go from carrying the bags because they wouldn't let you play.
Yes.
As you get later in life, society changes a little bit, and now you're able to compete, and you looking at these guys in the face and you're beating them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a inspiration.
But who knows the game better than the caddy?
Absolutely.
Like, they know the
Absolutely.
lands.
They know it all, and they
Yes.
actually can kind of see it from both sides, too.
Exactly.
So rest in peace to Mr. Dent. He
Yeah.
left a great legacy for us all to pick up
Sure.
and keep going forward. So I kind of want to transition into you as a business owner, man.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people know you for the creative space, but you know, how important is it for you to kind of stay close to your roots with Scholar Films and being able to tell stories for the culture?
Very important. I've had opportunities to leave Augusta. You know, I actually contemplated at one time leaving. You know, some just kept me here. You know, and I'm not gonna say that I just want to be this hero of Augusta or anything, but
Yeah.
it's just a great base.
It
You
is.
know, to start, my entire family is here. I have a few family members in Florida, you know, but my entire base is here, you know. So what better foundation is it for me to have? Even if no one is going to support me, I got hundreds of people here
That's
that I can just start.
Yeah.
I can just start with them. If I want to say, if I can go to every family member and say, hey, I want to just take a picture of you for $5, I'll be rich. Because they're going to support me.
Yeah.
You know, and I always kind of had that in mind, you know, and it grew into me saying, Tyler Perry started in the South. He's in Atlanta. I could do the same thing for Augusta, or partner with someone who can do the same thing for Augusta.
Absolutely.
And there's so many movies and everything that come through Augusta. The Mule, they use my building for the Mule.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
so yeah.
Didn't know
So
that.
it's like, it's so much stuff that come through Augusta. It's like, but it's so hidden.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna say it's gatekeeping, but if you don't know, you don't know. And you're not going, if you don't search, they're not gonna tell you.
Do you feel like we tell enough stories as a generation, like nowadays, because things are different? We have more technology, you know, but just culturally, we've always been a people who pass down stories from generation to generation and, you know, capture things, whether through song or through, you know, the older people telling the younger people how it used to be.
Yeah.
Now, a storyteller like you can actually preserve something that can be seen for, you know, decades to come. Do you feel like we take enough time to sit down and storytell nowadays?
We don't, because when you look at the dynamic of the family now, that grandmother, like my grandmother,
Yeah.
I feel like my grandmother is the last of that style grandmother.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
understand.
grandmothers are younger now. I look at my mother as a grandmother, but does she love her grandkids? Yes.
Of course.
You know, but it's different than how her mother was.
Yeah.
Because my mother is a little younger.
Yeah.
You know,
Grandma knew everything about everybody, everything about everything. It just seemed like a wealth of wisdom.
yes,
right?
and it was a different struggle. It was
Yeah.
a different struggle. So it's up to us to tell the story that our ancestors told us, which we don't do sometimes because some of us didn't sit there and listen. I was one of those people who sat there, and I still talk to, I got an 80-year-old uncle, my Uncle Steve. Shout out to Uncle Steve.
Shout out, Steve.
I talk to Uncle Steve all the time, and he's trying to get me into golf. You know, so
You should, man.
yeah, and I'm trying. I want
I love
to. It's
it,
just the
man.
timing.
Don't play today.
Yeah, but it's just sitting there talking to my elders. I get so much from it because I take that and I write scripts from it.
Okay.
So it builds characters for me. You know, so and I feel like that is a lost art form, and it's hard. One thing also, it's hard as a Black filmmaker to tell our stories because the industry has said for so many years our stories don't sell worldwide.
Yeah. And like this always annoys me. I talked about it a little bit in the last show. Some of the Black films are kind of always like the historical pieces kind of always put us in a position of inferiority or slavery or just almost disadvantaged. And obviously we know that we've had to overcome some things, but it does seem like a narrative within the Hollywood film industry with the big companies that only certain scripts are approved.
Yes.
Can you kind of tell the listeners what you know just about, how those scripts get approved and like how do we break through those narratives as storytellers and filmmakers?
One thing it is knowing that we have broken through.
Wow.
Like, because a film or a TV show, it has power because it gives us a perspective of what Black is. So you have Good Times.
Man, what a show.
Lovely show, but it showed the poverty. It showed
struggle of inner city Chicago.
They always hitting the ceiling.
And like always, right before a breakthrough, something bad happened. Man, something bad.
It was
they
a
could
drama.
Never get over.
It was a drama. It kept going.
It did.
Versus the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
You don't see too many Cosby shows.
You don't.
The closest thing we had to the Cosby Show was Blackish.
You're right. Where you have like a upper middle class family with well-mannered kids who are doing well.
But it's hard for society to understand that that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And this kind of takes me back to my law school days in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with some lovely people, right? Some real good people, but I also went to school with some white folk who really weren't used to Black people, especially Black people in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of them had like this idea of what I was going to be or who a young Black man was. And they were just very, very surprised that I didn't have to lead with slang, that I could still be cool and know how to turn it on and turn it off like a lot of us have to do in different rooms that we go in on a professional level. And I just feel like a lot of what people who are not around us they get from pop culture, they get from TV, they get from these shows.
Yes.
And that's how we are, or that there always has to be an edge to us. So it's definitely important to have that diversity in the room, not just the diversity, but us running the show.
Yes.
Telling our own story.
Yeah. And I piggyback off of that because, like I say, I'm from downtown. I'm from the bottom.
From the bottom.
So it's like,
shout out to the bottom, by the
way. So it's like my first, I feel like, time being out of the city, like for a long period of time, I was actually here in Augusta. That's being on campus at Augusta State.
Felt like you was in a whole nother world.
Whole different world.
Only maybe 3-4 miles
That's
away.
That's it. It was different grass. It was the buildings. We walking. I learned about Starbucks there.
Wow.
So it's little small things that it's like, it's a whole different world. And I would go back home and I would say, hey, people are doing this. Like, and my homeboys was like, boy, you lying.
Yeah.
And I take it even further back when I went to Langford, because I switched schools in
that's middle school, right?
That's middle school. That's when my life changed. I went from East Augusta to Langford, which was kind of middle class at the time. My friends to this day from Langford, their parents were nurses, had really like nice middle class people.
Yeah.
And they had something.
Yeah.
So it's like
it was a different vibe.
It was a different vibe. And it's like, y'all not, and I didn't come from complete poverty. I never say that. My mama had carpet down in our project.
Yeah.
In our apartment, she laid down carpet.
Wow.
So like she she was there because she was young.
Yeah.
But she ultimately got all of her stuff together and used it for what it was supposed to be.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I had on my pop side, I have two sisters who are one is 1 year younger than me, then the other one is 4 years younger than me. And then on my mom's side, I'm actually 14 years older than my sister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You big bro.
Big bro. So she kind of like my first daughter.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man. That's a great segue to being a girl dad.
Ooh, Lord.
Now, listen, I know last week I talked a lot about raising young kings. Definitely, that's one of the most important things we can do in our society as fathers, because this is for the dads. But man, it's something about having that little girl, man,
Bro.
that is life-changing. I had a daughter first, and I had never really contemplated having a daughter. For some reason, growing up, I just always thought I was gonna have boys when that time came, because I guess being in the sports, just a dude. But when I had that girl, I didn't know what to do.
Oh no, the funny thing, I deserved that girl. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I deserved it because it was boy.
But it changes your whole perspective. I feel like Kelsey made me not just softer in a physical way, but more aware of my tone of voice.
There you go.
More aware of some of the intuitive things that as a dude growing up, we're just dudes.
We just dudes. That's why I say, looking back, I was like, oh yeah, I deserved you.
Yeah.
But it does. It changed my whole mindset. It's like how you talk, how you present yourself. The things that I have to teach a daughter from a man's perspective is wild, because I'm trying to show her things that ultimately is going to help her see men.
Absolutely. You're the first example. And I wish more of us talked about it from the girl dad perspective, because we do have a great opportunity to kind of shape and lead the way with what she values in a man, and how she feels protected, and all those things. So your daughter, what's her name? Kylie.
Yeah.
Kylie is 10?
10. Mm-hmm.
All right. So she just completed what grade?
5th grade.
5th grade. So we going to middle school.
Boy.
Okay. Let's go. Big deal. That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal, man. Because the only thing I could think about is when I was a boy in 6th grade, and it's like, Lord have mercy.
Ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a little bit ahead of you. I've got Kelsey will be 13 in August.
Yeah.
She's going to 8th grade.
Okay.
And high school's right around the corner. And I do have those thoughts like, I can't believe that I got a daughter that old. And you really just are still trying to find common ground. You're still trying to be relevant, because as you know, and as a lot of dads know, when they are young, you walk in the house like a conquering hero at the end of the day. As soon as you close the door, daddy. Yeah. But as they get older, it's a little different.
Oh man, I walk in now. It used to be where I would hear her yell from the loft. She come down. You home? You finally home?
You finally home?
Now I gotta go in the room.
I gotta find her.
Yeah, I gotta go in the room,
and I get
the.
Me with her. Yeah,
I get
it's almost like
you busting in my room.
It's almost like I'm disturbing you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to come kiss you on your forehead. She in there playing on the game, and it's so. With my daughter, she's so nostalgic.
Okay.
So I'll walk in her room. Like, it's crazy because I walk in her room, right? She's watching Family Matters or Full House or something on her Nintendo Switch playing Mario. Like, I walk in and be like, dang, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, it's things that we would do in the 90s, but now, of course, she got FaceTime. So her and her girls on FaceTime, trying to figure out what they go do for the weekend.
I can't imagine that.
So yeah, it's amazing.
What are how has that affected, your storytelling or just in general, your approach to what you're doing and the legacy that you're trying to leave for your daughter?
Yeah. I'm trying to get her to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get her to,
no better way to learn.
And she knows how to edit. She
Okay.
knows how to do photography and everything.
Wow.
But I'm not just forcing it on her because she's seen me do it so much
Yeah.
to the point where it's like my dad does that.
Man, listen.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm trying to get these kids to be lawyers.
Yes.
Man, that's the last thing they want
They
to do.
won't. Yeah. And I'm
I'm like,
being
man, y'all got a pretty good life now. Chill.
and the thing is, I might get some slack for this, but I want to build nepotism.
Yes.
I want my daughter to have that.
Yeah.
If I build something, I want to be able to give it to her.
To pass it down.
To pass it down. Like, I don't want you to have to go through anything that I went
And start
through.
at square one.
And start at
see,
square one.
People don't understand some of our counterparts. I went to law school with some kids whose dad were judges.
Yes.
Uncle was a lawyer. And they didn't have to send out 200 resumes like I did.
Exactly.
Because they already kind of had an opportunity or knew
Right in.
a little bit behind the curtain. And
Yes.
so if we can do that for our children, like, why not?
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. We're leading by example. We're building something for them, and at the same time, I try to take my daughter back to the bottom. And
Just so she could see.
so you could see, like, hey, everything ain't peaches and cream.
Yeah.
I remember one day she had to be about 3 or 4. And we pulled up to CVS and it was raining and this man was just sitting out there. And she asked me, she said, "Daddy, why is the man sitting there? Why won't he get in his car and go home?" I say, "Well, baby, he might not have somewhere to go." And she asked the most powerful question. She just said, "Why?"
It's like that.
Just like that.
The innocence of a child.
Yes.
Not understanding that everybody doesn't live like we live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
It's-
I had to, and from that age, when she said why to me, I've always made it my business to, anytime she said why or asked me a question, I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I'm going to answer it in the best way that I can and the best way that she could understand it. So she understands life ain't as easy as you think it is right now. So
Yeah.
my wife got her in she's calling it mommy boot camp.
Okay.
So she's having all the woman talks this summer because middle school is going
Middle school is going to, yeah. She's
change.
going to be exposed to some other kids from
stuff.
different
And
backgrounds. And
with iPads and internet and stuff, I'm pretty sure she has seen some stuff.
Yeah.
You try to shield them, but I look at it, I grew up in the 90s. As much as my parents and everybody tried to shield me from stuff,
you're still living in the
you're
world.
still living in the world.
Yeah.
And we didn't have iPads and phones. So we didn't have the world in our palm.
Literally at your fingertips.
I can only imagine what comes across her time. We just let her get a TikTok. I can only imagine what comes across that timeline, So I would rather us educate her on the inside of our home to say, hey, this is what you need to look out for versus seeing it in the world and being too curious.
Man, that's gold right there, man.
Yeah.
Because definitely sometimes I feel like as parents, especially dads of girls, we don't want to confront some of those things that indicate that she's growing to a young woman.
Yes.
Right? It's almost like don't ask, don't tell.
Mm-hmm,
But that could be the worst thing.
That's the worst
that we
thing.
could do, right? Because I want you to ask and I want to tell you because if you hear it from me, then we're laying the foundation for when you hear it in a distorted way out there. Because we know that we want our young girls, our daughters to be strong women, have a love for God, and really know what it's like to interact with a man in a positive way.
Yes.
Because that's so important.
Yes.
So, like, what do you see as the future for you going forward with Scholar Films? Like, what's a dream project or a dream client that you want to work with, setting your goals up for this next, 12 to 24 months?
Yeah. So, first off, I've been loving working with you. You know, just
man.
and I'm gonna bring it to the present right now. What
Okay.
we're sitting in right now.
Okay, let's talk about that.
This is something that
The
me and you
Lawyer's
built.
Lounge.
We built this.
You right?
When you're doing it, I'm on the other side, and I'm seeing it being built brick by brick.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a story that I'm loving telling. I love to tell on a daily basis with you. Just your story. And how I intertwine in that. You know, so I'm looking forward to pushing me and your needle forward. As far as like me, man, I'm working on a project. Of course, like I say, it's the Black Caddies. I have been greenlit by a network.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to tell that
Stay
story.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
We can't talk about it quite yet, but it's going to be a major product.
Yeah, I have been greenlit. I do have another producer on it with me, and she's amazing. She already has 3 Emmys.
Wow.
So she has the formula.
Yours is coming.
Yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's coming.
Yeah. We're going to call it. We're
speak that, man.
Speak it. Yeah, so she has the formula, and she's very excited to what I have put together, and she has put together as well. And I'm looking forward to that. Even the fact that I have a partner that has gone through those realms and have won, you know, the award means a lot. But my ultimate goal is to finish this short film that I have and enter it into film festivals.
Yeah.
Turn it into a feature film. I really want to meet with Tyler Perry.
Yes. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that and we're working on that.
Definitely.
We're working on that, and I want an Oscar. Like that's my goal.
Big goals.
Big goal.
Big dreams.
Yes.
Like it, and it's doable. It's not like you sitting in your basement recording on your iPhone talking about you want an Emmy or an Oscar. Like you are working with major players in the music and film. Going forward, it's gonna just only get bigger. And so, how do you stay grounded? Like what keeps you remembering your why?
It's funny because being in Augusta will keep me grounded. And what really keeps me grounded is when I see someone that I haven't seen in a long time. Okay. And it's the funniest thing. And Ali Sadiq just told us a joke similar to what I go through. So I'll go to the store or whatever, and I always try to look presentable because I never know who knows me.
You always be fresh. Listen, he's being modest right now. Weeda was what we affectionately call him. Is always fresh. I mean, his shoes, the way that his pants are creased, like he presents himself in a way that shows that he respects himself.
Yes.
And like
I appreciate that.
I noticed that from the very beginning, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I always try to, keep that going. But I'll see people that I know and they'll call me Weeda. Yeah. That's how I know if somebody knows me.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, Weeda, you still taking them little pictures?
Yeah, I'm still taking them pictures.
That's all I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm still at it, man. Yeah, boy, keep trying.
I love that.
I'll be like, yeah, bro, I appreciate it.
Because you don't take that opportunity to correct somebody listen, I just got off the road with Usher. Or,
no, I don't.
I got Mary J. Blige in my phone.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm of course I'm dying on the inside.
Yeah, for
sure. Because people, you know how we are.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because it's like
ain't no need for me to pump my chest.
Yeah,
my
because
resume.
he
genuinely
he don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's I've just started back kind of posting a little bit on Facebook. I hadn't posted on Facebook in years. Yeah. So
that's
a lot of
old friends are.
That's where your old friends are. So if they don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. So the only thing they remember was we was running around the club doing that little videos, man. Yeah. He had DJ Drama saying Scholar. So it's like whatever. But they don't know the other side, and it's not my business to tell them.
Yeah. They gonna see.
They gonna see it.
It's gonna be so undeniable that they can't help but see.
But the ones that know,
and they're proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not proud of him, then that's hate, because he's always uplifting. You're always trying to tell people stories. You've taken photos for my family before. So
beautiful family, by the way.
Man, thank you, brother. So it definitely you're well rounded, and I think that you do it for the right reasons. And we need more people like you, willing to tell the story and be behind the camera. Everybody wants to be in front of the camera. It's more important for the people who are behind the camera, who don't get the recognition, but really capture all of the subtleties that make art worth sitting down, watching, listening to, and inspiring. So how can people stay in touch with you or find you or view your work as we move forward, man?
You can find me, if you need to email me, is info@scholarfilms.com, scholarfilms.com. Instagram is Travoris_Hawkins.ys. And if Facebook is still the same, it's Travoris Hawkins. And I've been thinking about dropping, but I can't drop that name.
No, man, you can't drop Weeda, because it tells a story in and of itself. Just like you said, people who call you Weeda know you from another part of your life.
Yes.
And you're still that same person who has evolved.
Yeah.
For example, I had a nickname growing up. All right. So like the people who knew me probably up until I went to law school called me Kibo. And all of my teammates from high school, college, classmates called me Kibo.
Yeah. So
if I'm out and I hear somebody say Kibo, man, I know that that's somebody who knew me well before all this attorney nonsense.
Yeah.
And so I was went back to Furman for homecoming. I took my kids, and all my boys were dapping me up saying Kibo, and my kids were like looking at me like, who is that? You know. So I definitely understand that, but you got to keep the Weeda, because I think that it just tells the complete story.
It does.
So you didn't grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth
at all.
You didn't grow up with all these examples of what a filmmaker should be. I mean, you had the audacity to believe you could come from the bottom, right? Which is, to be honest with you, a neighborhood in Augusta that's notorious for, crime. Doesn't mean that everybody down there is criminals, but it's like urban spaces all over this country. It's filled with crime, and to have a native son be able to come from the bottom and doing wonderful, great things on network TV, touring with major artists, is exceptional, and it just reminds young people that they can do anything.
And that's my biggest thing. Like, just showing people, like, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. I started all of this from YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't take one class when I was in college. I took business classes.
Yeah. Just
to run the business behind it. But I learned all of the craft from YouTube. That's it.
So in closing, give us some words to kind of inspire us, and some of the legacy stuff that you want to be remembered by.
Okay. Look, this is my camera, right?
That's it. That's it. You should know.
So first, I'd like to say, I thank God for everything that I have, everything I don't have, because what's for me is for me, and He's going to make sure that I'm ready for whatever He's going to set on my plate. Listen to your family, no matter what information that they're giving you, listen to it. I received so much great information in my life, but I've also received so much bad information. In the same token, that bad information is just as gold as the good information, because it showed me what I did not want to do. I did not need to do. Even if you're in a position of you're not seeing the best scenery, you know, you're not around the best role models. Take what they're doing and understand that you want better. That's their gift to you.
Ooh.
You know, so that's what I've always lived by, and knowing what you want out of life and knowing what you don't want out of life. You need to know the answer to at least one of those. I was one of the ones that knew what I didn't want out of life. I didn't honestly know what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want. So I kind of did the opposite of what I saw. And I kind of took some of those traits with me, because in business, if you're a business person, it's still buy low, sell high.
Awesome. And only the way that you can do it. I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you partnering with me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
He does our sets. He is responsible for just how the Lawyers Lounge has come to life. It's been a project that I was, you know, a little bit hesitant on. You know, I'm just a lawyer, man. I want to go to work, coach a little bit, and come home.
Yeah.
And so he's allowed me to expand and tell my own story from, like I say, from the front lines of the criminal justice system. So
Yes.
I want to tell you thank you and shout out to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know, it's one thing to have talent. It's another thing to have vision, but it's a quite rare combination to have both. Travoris has shown us that it doesn't matter where you start. If you have vision, you can bring the world right here to Augusta. You know, it's about legacy. It's about purpose. It's about setting the groundwork for the generations to follow. He does it with class. He does it with style. He's worked with some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, but he also has stayed true to his roots. He's still Weeda from the bottom. He's trying to raise his daughter in a way that's honorable, admirable, with a Christian base. He's a loving husband, and he goes to show us that you can do anything if you keep God first. You remember that your story is yours and that it's worth telling. Thank God for the people who don't always need the spotlight. Thank God for the people who tell the story in a genuine way, behind the scenes, knowing that their work is documented and that their treasures are laid up in heaven. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Lawyers Lounge. I want to encourage each of you to continue telling your story because it has power, it has depth, and it is uniquely you. As always, don't worry about the past. It's behind you. There's nothing that you can do about it. It's a memorial to what has been, not what is. The future belongs to the good Lord. There was quite literally nothing that you can do to predict that. Trust him with it because it always has and always will belong to him. The present, that's where we operate. That's where we have the power to control our actions, one beautiful choice at a time. Make the best choice that you can with the information that you have. That's all we're required to do. Keep your faith in God and let him handle the rest. Until next time, salute.
Good.
I think that was good.
Oh, man.
I think that was great. We put it together, my guy.
We put it together.
I appreciate it.
That was hard.
Yeah, that was a good one, man. Yeah.